This podcast is brought to you by the Prospect Research Institute, an online learning community. Do you ever worry if you're doing research and prospect management correctly? At the Institute, we turn researchers into fundraising intelligence assets, leading your development officers to the biggest and best donor prospects, and bringing your organization major gift success.
That's something that I really believe prospect research allows us to do. And that's why I love our partnership with Aspire, is that you allow through information and thoughtfulness for us to have a conversation with our clients around raising not only their sites as fundraisers, but also how to raise the sites of our donors.
Welcome to Prospect Research ChatBytes, a podcast by and for prospect research professionals. Hello, I'm Jennifer Filla. Today, I'm talking with Barbara Shelton, Senior Advisor at MGale. Hello, Barbara. Thank you for joining me today on ChatBytes.
I'm glad to be here. This is a very timely subject.
I think so. Before we jump into leveraging profile research for solicitation strategies, our topic today, I'm wondering if you'd be willing to share how you came into fundraising and what you're doing now.
Thank you, Jen. So my story of getting into fundraising is maybe not unusual for many fundraisers in that many years ago, I didn't choose to go into the field. I actually started as a social worker and moved then directly into fundraising through trying to raise money for nonprofit organizations and just fell in love with it. And you know what's really funny about it? I think we as fundraisers are really in the relationship business. So there's a tie to that social work connection. But sometimes, especially on the topic of talking about large scale campaigns, we're a lot like detectives. So a lot of times, instead of really solving crimes, we're really helping clients discover their donors and really helping them understand how to look at a potential donor profile and engage with them and build relationships, because those relationships really transform the future of the organization. I think for me, in the last 4 decades, I've been able to really help triple the impact, not only as a consultant, but directly impacting the work inside organizations. And it takes partnerships to do that. And prospect research is one really important leg of that work that we do together.
So how did you join MGale? Would you be willing to share a little bit about that and what kind of work you do there?
So I joined MGale about 7 years ago. I came from a past of being a social worker, working directly inside faith-based organizations, and then moving into consulting. I had my own consulting firm for 13 years in Birmingham, Alabama, and then came back to Texas. When I came back to Texas, I really longed to have deeper impact inside an organization. So I went back inside, working within an organization, particularly with women and children, to help really grow the agency. And I loved that. And we really moved the needle on the work that we did, both in capital fundraising and annual fundraising. And then as I look at like the last part of my career, I really wanted to bring all of that experience back into consulting. And so I joined Missy to help her kind of really grow her business, but also have really deeper, meaningful impact in North Texas and the Southwest. So my role initially was as a vice president, really helping to build out our services, and then really growing the business. So we've done that really substantially over the years. And one of the things that we've done in this process is really formalize and approaching how we work with our partners in capital campaigns, and particularly as we look at that really large scale campaigns. So we work with many clients who have not done or taken on the beautiful opportunity to really grow philanthropy through transformative fundraising. And so my role in that has been really building out the framework for that and training and working with our consultants and our clients on how to approach that.
Right. I know you're working with big campaigns because the profile requests we get from you are really heavy hitters. And it's fun for us to discover the story, both of how someone earns their wealth, but also how they want to give it away. And we love doing that curious detective work. I guess what I'm wondering from you and actually my whole team, we're like so curious. What do you do with those profiles? Like, how do you take that back to the client? What happens with all that information?
I love that question because it actually starts before that with the client in often really just looking at their donor base and analyzing information more from a bigger perspective. And out of that emerges a few different things. One is really great potential for prospects that maybe they have been under serving or paying attention to. The second are really aha moments to realize that, wow, we've got a really great match with a donor that we've never really maybe listened to them or really understood what their giving is. So we really like to kind of set a stage for conversation with the client. One is helping them understand all of the information they have internally, and they're really good at that. Most organizations can come in and look at their CRM or talk to their gift officers and their volunteers and get some really good intel and information. But oftentimes, maybe not having a breadth of knowledge or information around the prospect and or the complexity of their family or their interest in philanthropy. So really the 20-page reports that I got from you, to me, is it's a holy process. It's really important and vital information because really behind every report that we get is a real person and a real family with hopes and challenges. And that's how we like to look at that. So when we first arrives in our inbox and we have a chance to look at it, we're really looking to see how can we introduce his profile to our client and have prominence around it. Oftentimes, when you're in large-scale campaigns and you have pressure raising money, I can often see gift officers take information and then move rather quickly into looking at a solicitation or setting particular targets. And while that's part of the process, I would like to slow down. So what we really try to do is slow down, take the time to actually review the profile together and facilitate a conversation with our client around, what's new to them in this information? Do they have insights into that from their perspective? And or what are the connections that they see that are important as we begin to talk about diving deeper into a relationship with a prospect? So that's something I think that's really important for us. The other thing is to not just look at just the estimated capacity, but also how is that in context with the relationship that they have. I find in larger scale campaigns in today's world, we have to take more time and really cultivating and connecting with a particular donor. And there are complexities with that. So helping our clients understand the complexities. So there might be a family relationship or there's a family tree. And as you know, in Texas, we like to do things big, right? Texas has a lot of wealth, right? Both in land, but in business as well. We have histories of family trees that have morphed and changed over time. And the fact of the matter is that, we're in an interesting era of wealth transfer. So having information, I think, is really important, but it's more than just net worth calculation. It's really about their giving history and their interests and how to understand how they as a family or individual want to make a difference.
It's good to hear because we create a table of contents for you because there's so many pages. And in Texas, there's more than just oil. And I recall one where the family really had a journey with the family company. And untangling that journey was challenging when just looking at what's available in the public space. And I can only imagine on the side of the gift officers how challenging it could be to understand what really drives and motivates that family and their values. And once we untangled that story, their values were all over the place. It was fun. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall when you talk strategy on some of those.
Texas is about grit, right? So it's really interesting to see the journey. And oftentimes, quite frankly, we can understand that journey better in just real-time conversations through listening, both as a major gift officer and as consultants. Because I do find that we have, as fundraisers, our own perspective, our own case of what we're going to ask for and what our need is. But if we're not 150% attuned to what the donor wants, oftentimes the ask will fall flat, the relationship will not feel authentic, and listening to them and being creative and adaptable in that process is really critical. I'll take one example, and it was research that you had given us, in fact, and it took us 4 years to actually work with this particular donor and client to really solidify their participation in the campaign. And initially, the client was really thinking a particular number, but with the research and the breadth and depth and long-term conversation, we were really able to more than triple what it was that they were thinking of asking for. But it took 4 years to get there. The right conversations with the people at the right time, especially when you look at complexities of family foundations and family members and who's a gatekeeper and how do you get to have those conversations. It's really important to be patient and to be thoughtful and raise the prospect sites. I would say that's something that I really believe prospect research allows us to do. And that's why I love our partnership with Aspire, is that you allow through information and thoughtfulness for us to have a conversation with our clients around raising not only their sites as fundraisers, but also how to raise the sites of our donors and investment in things that they're really passionate about.
I love it. And I love that the idea is to slow down. I've heard this before from other development officers where, maybe it's a board member who's in a hurry. Like, oh, we don't need research. Let's just go ask. I know the person. And then they get the report and it's a few pages and they come back with, oh, well, maybe we should talk about this a little more before we go.
I love that. What I'm also finding in that, Jen, is maybe they're thinking, wow, I'm looking at that 20-page report, but I have this in my mind. And so let's just move forward. And then if I don't let that go and say, let's come back and revisit that again. So there's a two-tiered approach. One is looking at the research, bringing it back up again, and then looking at the research and taking it into a really formalized process of prospect planning. Partnering with our clients, we can take the mindset of let's digest the information, let's think about it, let's come back and say, okay, now that we've looked at it, what kind of questions do we have? Now let's take the next step and build out a prospect plan and do some scenario planning with them that allows them then to consider, well, who are our connectors? So this journey might not be in 6 months. It might not be in 3 months. It might be in 12 or 24 months. So who are the individuals that I need to connect with to get us all aligned so that we can help connect the dots with the donor? And the other thing I think is important is, truly is authentic relationship building. So it isn't just taking the information and running with it and jumping in. It's really thoughtfulness about how we proceed. Because at the end of the day, we really want to make our philanthropists' heart sing. And that takes different conversations.
You had brought something up that I thought might help researchers and frontline fundraisers kind of better understand the role of research or how to figure out what that role is. And we were talking about researchers as consultants. What is your thought about that?
So I love the idea, right? And truly, I think researchers have always been consultants within an organization. The reality is that not one person ever really makes an ask successfully. It's a team effort. And researchers are consultants as part of that process. Even with AI moving forward, we're going to see an evolution inside organizations on how we involve others in asks and build teams around that for deeper relationships, especially when I think about these transformative campaigns. So it's really important to bring in program staff. It's really important to bring in volunteers. And I think it's important to bring in a researcher who can really help strategize and think through all of the different complexities of a potential relationship building and or potential ask.
You had also mentioned curiosity. So curiosity, and for researchers, we talk about it all the time. How does that translate to your side?
Yeah, so as a consultant, curiosity, I think, is transformative because curiosity allows us to put aside any preconditions that I have about a donor or about the project that we're doing. And it allows me to discover information or discover relationships or interests in a new way. So, curiosity in our age and time in the sector is something that I am always looking for when I hire someone as a consultant, when I am looking to partner with an individual client, is the openness to discover and understand. So curiosity is going to lead us into kind of a new era in philanthropy, I believe. And I think our researchers have been doing this always. They're the foundation of a really formalized development program. And, we're talking about mega campaigns now. So I find often formalized research in university settings, very large scale organizations, but we do work with smaller organizations. And it's really important that they have some foundational knowledge and practice of research. And for these smaller organizations, that can transform the work that they do. They might not perceive it and know it. They might feel more transactional in the work that they're doing, but by pausing and stepping back and gathering information and being thoughtful around that is important. Yes, we still have to have a full throttle approach to fundraising, but the reality is that these transformative gifts are coming from pure donors. So we have to be very thoughtful in how we approach the work that we do with them and partnering with both our clients and with our donors.
Wonderful. I learned so much today. Thank you for sharing.
I appreciate it very much, and I look forward to continuing to partner with you in this really important work.
That was Barbara Shelton, Senior Advisor at MGale. Did you notice a trend in the thread of conversation with Barbara? Could consulting curiosity be the human trait that AI can't replace? Creating authentic relationships with our donors requires genuine curiosity, but so does creating authentic relationships with the people we work with. Heck, we need curiosity with people, full stop. And a natural-born researcher is loaded with curiosity. Maybe the key for researchers is to guide our curiosity towards solving a problem for the people we work with. In other words, consulting curiosity. Hey there! Do you manage a prospect research team, or were you newly hired as a prospect researcher? Then you'll be delighted to hear about the Institute's Career Agent Track. In this bundle of 4 courses, participants learn how to build great profiles, calculate capacity ratings, the basics of prospect identification and prospect management, ethics, and the fundamentals of analytics every team member needs to be skilled in. If you need to build the research skills of a fundraising intelligence asset like this, sign up today at member.prospectresearchinstitute.org/career agent.